Today's episode is brought to you by Destiny's Accessories, located inside of A.V. Lopez at 3831 Boca Chica Boulevard in Brownsville. Open Monday through Friday, 10 to 6, Saturday and Sunday, 10 to 4. Destiny Accessories has all the phone and tablet accessories you need, including chargers, screen protectors, wallets, clips, holsters, pop sockets, cases, and much more. Welcome back to Paranormal 956, coming to you live from an undisclosed location.
Right.
My name is David.
And I'm Bianca.
What are we talking about today, Bianca?
So, what? It's almost Mother's Day, right?
This is our Mother's Day episode.
Special.
Our special episode.
Yeah. So, I don't know. What do you got?
So today we're going to be talking about Andrea Yates and the lessons learned from Andrea Yates. Now, first, the disclaimer a little bit. I know this is going to be a double-edged disclaimer.
Okay.
We usually go pretty hard on this
details?
show. Yeah. We're going to hold back a little bit on this.
We get that a lot.
Going to hold back. We are dealing with children. In addition to that, in this particular story, there is a lot of things I would say you could describe it as a perfect storm to make this probably the most horrible story I may have ever heard. And so we're going to talk more about those elements that created this perfect storm than the results. We're not going to dwell too much on the gory details of this.
Okay.
So, to start with, Andrea Yates, this is several years ago, was living in Houston.
Okay.
And she was married to a NASA engineer. Let me look this up. And so, just to cut to the chase, Andrea Yates had 5 children.
5? Shit.
And she killed all of them.
Okay.
And so she drowned them in her bathtub. This is the part of the story we're not going to dwell on too much, right? Because it is absolutely horrible. What we're going to talk about...
Wait, all together?
So one at a time. She drowned them in her bathtub.
In the same bathtub?
Yeah. On the same day.
Okay, I know you don't want to talk about it, but it's like... She got in, one kid drowned, then the other second kid drowned, third kid drowned.
Yep. And the youngest one was a little baby.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's a pretty bad story, like I said. So first things first, we'll start with, I guess, kind of the way that Andrea Yates grew up, I guess.
Okay.
She was a kind of like a nerdy girl. A little bit nerdy, and
she's married to an acid dude. I would guess so.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so. I mean, that makes sense. And so she also was very religious. And in kind of when she got married, her and her husband were very religious together, but I think her husband was more of like your regular Christian.
Okay.
You know, like be a good person and go to church on Sundays.
Thank God for this. Thank God for that. Okay. Right. Keep on going about your day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Andrea Yates was a little bit more extreme than that.
Oh.
And so she ended up becoming friends with basically a cult member, or a cult leader, I should say, in the Houston area.
Okay.
And so her husband works a lot.
Yeah.
And so she's leaning on this couple quite a bit. And throughout all of her life, she's dealt with depression, a lot of mental health issues.
Okay.
From everybody that has known her, she was an extreme people pleaser, right? And so the reason that's kind of important to know is because when she was with her friends, she talked about how she didn't want to have any more kids, that she was done with kids.
Yeah, 5 kids sounds like enough.
Well, yeah, she was talking about this like with 3 kids.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
But
now that you put it like that,
right, she was fine with it when her husband was talking to her. Whatever he wanted, she would go. Like I said, people pleaser, right?
Right.
So when all of this stuff happened and everybody comes together and they're trying to figure out what's going on, everybody's getting a different Andrea.
Oh,
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, she would have just.
They were like, well, why were you keeping having kids? Because she said she didn't want any more kids. He's like, what are you talking about? She said she loved kids. She wanted more kids and all this stuff, right?
Right.
And so with this particular cult that she was in, this guy was like super extreme. And so he was, to give an example, if your kids were the misbehaving type, and I mean, the bar was really low for misbehaving from this particular guy. So kids that didn't say thank you for everything were like evil kids.
Right.
Right. And so Andrea's on record talking about how her kids weren't extremely polite to her in-laws.
Right.
And so this extremist priest, right, this cult leader priest, was basically telling her, those kids are going to hell. They have the devil in them.
What?
Right? And so one of the ways, and I'm trying to word this carefully, right?
Right.
But children in the Bible are considered like innocent.
True.
Right? So, you know, especially.
But not the ones that don't say thank you.
Right. That's never mentioned in the Bible, by the way. But
allegedly,
right.
According to.
I think it's common knowledge or common practice in Christianity to think that if something bad happens to a child, right, that free pass to heaven, right? They're kids.
Yeah.
Right? And you and I were talking about this earlier. I don't particularly count 3-year-olds as bad.
Oh, that's true.
Right? We talked about this earlier today.
They're barely
they're kids.
Developing. Yeah.
They're testing limits. They're experimenting. I think maybe you have a bad parent sometimes. But a 3-year-old, I do not think automatically is a bad person.
No.
Right? Sometimes they do things you don't like, and some of it can be bad.
Yeah, sometimes they just gotta cry. Yes.
But they're not bad at 3.
Sometimes they just need a nap, guys.
Yeah, right. They're children, right?
Yeah.
Little kids. And so he kind of puts it in her head, and maybe this was accidental because I couldn't find anywhere that said that he purposely did this, but
allegedly
he made it seem like, you know, your kids are going to hell, but if they died early, then they can get a free pass to heaven.
What?
You know what I mean? And so whether he said that to her or whether he implied that to her, that's how she took it.
Yeah.
One way or the other, that's what she took. And so I'm titling this podcast, The Lessons Learned, right?
Right.
And so first lesson, like, don't go to cults. I think that's an easy one.
For sure.
Right? Especially dangerous. This kind of doomsday cult. This guy is like a raving lunatic, by the way. Like he screams a lot. Everybody's going to hell except for like him and his wife.
Oh, makes sense.
So you don't want to be in that kind of a cult.
No.
The other thing is, and I remember when this happened. So this was, I don't know, 2000s? I don't know. It was early 2000s. At that point, I had barely understood, or it was barely on my radar, about postpartum depression.
Oh.
Like that was kind of a new thing, at least something that I had never heard of or I was barely hearing about.
Yeah.
Andrea Yates had what is called now postpartum psychosis. So, so the difference between depression, right? So depression is just
like a time frame.
So with depression, you can think about it as like you don't have a lot of motivation to things. And by the way, I'm not a doctor, right? But I have dealt with depression and I have dealt with psychosis.
Postpartum as well?
Not postpartum, but this is the thing. They're the same thing, but this one is caused by being pregnant or
the hormones
shortly after being pregnant.
Yeah.
Mine was caused by not being pregnant.
Right.
I don't know why mine was, but so with depression.
Okay. So
for depression, and I'll speak personally, right?
In general, depression.
Yeah. In depression.
Yeah.
It can escalate to suicidal thoughts. Right. And suicide in the worst case scenarios. A lot of times people don't have a lot of motivation, right, to do things. They don't want to get out of bed, or they don't want to go to work, or the world just seems heavy to them. I think that's the best way I can describe it. And so everything is just a lot of effort, everything.
Yeah.
And, you're sad, but it's like oftentimes for no particular reason. And so women will go through this. And what I believe it is, and I don't know if this is documented or if this is real or this is just how I make sense of it, but I think that when you have a baby inside of you and you give birth, your body mourns the baby the way that it would be if, I don't know if you've ever heard of this, but when people have a limb cut off, their body misses that limb.
Okay.
And so I kind of feel like the baby, when you get pregnant and, these women go through these morning sickness and stuff like that, I think at the first part of it is your body's trying to get rid of it, right? It's like a foreign object inside of your body growing, right? And so your body's trying to get rid of it. And so it makes you sick. And so you throw up and all this stuff happens.
Wait, what the fuck?
And then eventually, right, your body accepts it.
Yeah.
And this is me. And this is part of me. And all
this in like a short 9 months.
Yeah, and then it's a part of you, right? Like it's a growing part of you, and then when you give birth, you lose that part of you.
Yeah.
And so your body goes through things, right? And so that's the best way I can kind of rationalize things in my brain. And so sometimes these things are extreme and sometimes they're not so extreme.
But after 5 kids, I mean.
Well, and this wasn't something that they were unaware of, right? They knew about this. And so after this happened and they were talking to her husband, they were saying that they understood that she was going to get sick, but then she was going to get better. And so it was worth it to be sick for just a little while so they could have another baby in his mind, right? And so she went along with it, I guess you could say.
Yeah. And
so with psychosis, that's a completely different thing. And so with psychosis think about it as depression is your moods, right? How your moods are.
Okay.
Psychosis is how your brain is, right? And so now she's having hallucinations. And so she thinks that there's demons in her kids and that by drowning them, she's going to get those demons out.
Okay. So depression is very like just feelings, and then it's like the psychosis part is more of the interacting with the outside world.
Right. So you're talking about like hallucinations now. You're talking about paranoid thoughts, because so she's thinking that her kids are going to grow up. And if you take that, let's just say, right, if you're imagining that your child is a demon, probably harmless as a little kid, right?
Right.
But then they grow up and that's still a demon. That's a dangerous thing, right? If you're thinking in that way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so this is where things start to get complicated with her, right?
Okay.
So now, because of Andrea Yates, we understand what postpartum psychosis is.
Postpartum psychosis.
Right? Yeah. And so this is something else. And so it gets to the point her husband goes to work. She drowns her children.
Right.
One by one. And then she calls the police on herself. And she says that she killed her kids. And this is where I guess for me, as somebody who watched this happen, I started to feel more empathy towards her. I mean, at first there's just this kind of hatred towards this woman who kills her own kids, right?
But at that time, they didn't know she was sick.
Right.
Until afterwards.
I don't think at this time people really understood, and I mean the medical community, didn't really understand how dangerous postpartum psychosis could be. And so another part of this that I think I have some kind of insights
But I mean, also like the factors around her, like the cult leader and all that, pushed her to an edge, basically.
Right. And her husband wanting more kids and a bigger family, you know, and 5 kids. I can't even imagine how exhausting that must be because they were all young. Let me see if I can. Her children were not old.
They're like one right after the other?
Yes, pretty much. I'm trying to find their ages. But the youngest one was a 6-month-old.
Oh, shit.
And let's see. Yeah, so she wasn't that far. You know, she hadn't had the baby long, let's say. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so this is all it says. Noah was born in 1994, followed by...
So it was like Noah?
So Noah was born in 1994, followed by John, Paul, Luke, and Mary, who was born in 2000. So in 6 years, she had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kids.
So
in 6
one
years.
after the other, yeah.
So I have a relative who had 3 kids in diapers at once. Like they're like 11 months apart. That was a handful.
But that's the thing.
Had
like
2
this kids,
more.
Yeah, these kids weren't fucking 11 months apart. Shit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's quick. And so
Damn,
this is...
so she just finished fucking giving birth and she was already getting into another kid?
Yeah.
Hell no. What the fuck?
And you have to also think too, right, that this last one wasn't, well, we know this, right? This wasn't her only postpartum psychosis.
Oh, that's true.
We know that she had gone through this each time. And so in this, after reading this, that she was one kid after another, there's a good chance that she was just constantly in this state of psychosis for 5 or 6 years. Or it
started as depression and developed into psychosis without help or medication.
So this is what I was going to say about my insights on things. And so something I kind of have touched on, I guess, you know, I have been institutionalized.
Right.
Actually, one of the stories that we will cover in the future is the Texas State Mental Hospital in Harlingen, supposed to be haunted. I've spent 3 weeks of my life in that hospital. And so I have firsthand knowledge of what it's like to be psychotic, right?
Right.
Another thing that I have insights in, because people that are psychotic, they have this paranoia about everything. And so one of the things that I have seen myself and that happened in her case is people are resistant to taking medicine because they're so paranoid. They will often think that people are trying to poison them when they're just giving them their medicine.
Okay.
And so it takes a lot of convincing for these people that I've experienced to be given a medicine and to take it.
Right.
As you're taking your medicine, these antipsychotics, antidepressant, mood stabilizers, all of them, you often start at a very small dose and you work your way up, right? When it takes you all of this convincing to take one pill, right? Let's say you start at 10 milligrams and then you're on that for a week or so, and then they're going to up it to 20 milligrams. the people freak out when the pill doesn't look exactly the same as it did before.
Oh, okay.
Because wait. I was supposed to take this one, and now you're trying to poison me with this new pill.
Yeah.
Right? And so what people will do, and what she is on record for doing, is when they take their pill, they put it in their cheek so they don't swallow it.
Yeah,
everybody thinks that you took it and you didn't. So her being non-compliant is another one of these lessons here. Like, she had some help,
but she didn't take it. She didn't take the help, yeah.
So that's one of the things that makes this difficult when you're dealing with people that have psychosis, whether it's postpartum or otherwise. In addition to all of that, when she was interviewed, she was very calm about everything. And she just explained how she killed everybody and why she did it and all of this stuff. And it's on a tape recorder that the jury heard.
Okay.
And so when you're talking to people that are...
That's her confession to the cops.
Right.
Okay,
right,
that's
right.
the interview.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so when you hear these interviews, a lot of your signs are visual.
Right.
You know, so people that are psychotic often won't blink and their eyes are open real big and they have these fidgets and...
Like paranoia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can see it more than you can hear it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Well, her interview is just an audio tape, right?
Yeah.
When they bring her into court, she's been in a hospital. So when you're in a hospital, if you don't take your medicine, they force you to take your medicine.
Right.
So during the hearing where she's on court for her life, she's healthy now.
Shit.
And so you're sitting in court like a normal human being.
Blinking, listening.
Yeah. A normal human being. And so she was, let me see if I can find what she was sentenced to. I know she was found guilty.
Well, no shit, David.
Well, but this is the thing, right? Is that there is a not guilty by reason of insanity plea that she tried to plead.
Oh, that's true.
But she wasn't found innocent, I guess. She was found guilty. And so, let's see. It says she immediately confessed that she was the woman who drowned her kids. And she even explained that she waited for her husband to leave before killing them.
Oh, shit.
She even locked the family dog in the kennel that morning to keep him from interfering.
He locked the... What?
Yeah. So it says that the trial took 3 weeks and they tried to get her the insanity defense. Now, under Texas law, it's required that you prove that they were incapable of telling right from wrong. And they weren't able to do that. And it says, this is a quote from her husband, I guess. Her husband, Russell Yates, said, "The Bible says the devil prowls around looking for someone to devour. I look at Andrea and think that Andrea was weak and he attacked her."
Oh.
So.
Case closed. It was the devil, guys.
So, let's see. I guess. So she was...
Okay, so they were going to the church, to this church, and that's how they found this priest cult guy, or she went to a different...
I think she went to a different church. So the husband wasn't super involved in the church.
No, but like once in a while he would go with them and stuff like that,
sure.
right? Yeah.
But she was real into it. And so she was getting full dosages of this, I don't know, crazy person. Let's see. So they sentenced her to life in prison.
Right.
Eligible for parole in 2041.
2041. Yeah, I still got a few more years.
Let's see.
But that's the thing, like, since it's a psychosis, okay, like, it's treatable, right? But does it ever go away?
So yes, so that's part of the story, I guess, is when she was in court and now she's medicated.
Right.
She's no longer having that same thought process, right? And so one of the complicated things with this jury question is if she knows what's the difference between good and bad, right? Obviously, for you and me, killing your kids, bad.
Right.
It's easy. In her mind, it wasn't killing my kids bad. It was killing demons, good. Protecting my kids from hell, good. But then when she's medicated and she's thinking like us, the devastation that hits her of being responsible for killing your children, and in the way that she did it, is like devastating. So she was found guilty, and sentenced to life in prison.
Right.
But it turns out that an appeals court found out that the prosecution had used like some tainted evidence. And they said something about the fact that she got the idea from a Law and Order episode.
Fuck.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, after the court was over and years had passed, 3 years had passed, they couldn't find that episode. So they gave her another trial. And in this trial, she was found not guilty, but she's sentenced to live in a mental hospital. And so it's a low security where they keep her medicated and so forth. But anyway, I did want to finish this by saying Happy Mother's Day.
Right.
Right. And
to all moms.
To all moms, Happy Mother's Day to you.
Thank you.
By the time you are already a mother, but by the time this episode comes out,
I've been a mother.
You'll be a double mother.
Right.
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 My mom has recently been on this episode.
Yeah.
Happy Mother's Day to my mom. An amazing mom. And even though I don't know your mom that well.
Yeah, for sure.
She can't be that bad because she made you.
I made myself. What do you mean?
Yeah. So happy Mother's Day to everybody.
Yeah.
The moral of the story is if you need help, get help. Right?
Yeah, don't wait until it gets that bad to psychosis.
Yeah. And so, unfortunately, this happened, but we learned a lot of lessons. And so now if women have this issue now,
or notice,
we're better prepared.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, if you need help, get help. I know that I went through years of my life with mental problems.
Don't compare it with postpartum.
Well, I mean, I have been arrested. I have been put in institutions, and I thought I wasn't going to get better. And even though I'm not completely better,
but it's a step forward.
I'm improved.
Yeah.
And so I wish everybody a happy Mother's Day and good health.
And happy holidays.
So thank you for listening.
Yep.
And make sure you
like and subscribe.
Follow
us on YouTube Music, Spotify. We're gonna get on TikTok eventually.
So we have a TikTok.
Yeah.
I'll take responsibility. I don't publish that much on it. But I will.
Eventually.
We're gonna hire a secretary.
Yeah, we're gonna need
some help.
Nothing too crazy. We're gonna take applications pretty soon.
Yeah, and even though we try to jump ahead
with
Bianca's double mother event happening soon.
Yeah.
Maybe we're going to have some guest hosts eventually.
I think you are, yeah.
I know we do want to have more call-ins for sure.
Yeah.
So if you have any stories, let us know. You can reach us on Facebook for sure. We both.
Oh yeah, Facebook. Yeah, we're
we
kind of
both
active.
we both get those messages.
Yeah.
And people have reached out already. So, like I said, thank you for listening, and we will catch you next week.
Wait.
Oh,
Quick question.
sure.
Have you slept with Keith?
Oh, I have not. How about you?
No.
No. Any other updates?
No, not really.
All right. So if you have any psychic questions, you didn't do great on those. Send them to our Facebook, and
Yeah. We'll figure it out.
we're gonna sharpen that skill of ours.
Yeah. That's a goal.
Yeah. Talk to you next week.
Bye, guys.